What's up, y'all? I'm Oteil.
And I'm Mike, and we are on Patreon.
Get on the bus, you guys. Get your bus pass. We put out an additional episode every week where we answer questions from you, or sometimes we may just get off on a tangent about something important or cool that happened that day or a couple days ago.
Yeah, it's Oteil and I catching up, and you are invited. So if you head to patreon.com/comesatimepod, you can join us. You can get the bus pass. We have some incredible merch coming soon. We've got a lot of great surprises. So we would love to have you guys head on over.
Yes, most of all, we want to connect with you. So get on the bus, y'all.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Comes a Time. I'm Mike.
I'm Oteil. Boy, did we do a good one for you this time.
Yes. Trackstar DJ from Run the Jewels is on the podcast, and it's a great story, and it's just a story of being in the right place, right, at the right time, and being open to opportunity.
And being there for the right reason.
The right reason. That's true. And you guys are here for the right reason. Thank you so much. Enjoy the episode. Check out all the great podcasts on Osiris. Go check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/comesatimepod. And we'll catch you next week. Enjoy.
Peace.
Comes a time when the blind man takes your hand.
Right on, dude. Fantastic. Congratulations for all the success thus far.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been a crazy last decade.
So
are we rolling already, by the way? Are we rolling already, by the way? Okay, I didn't know. I went to get water and shit, so I'm just...
We were talking about your chair. Oteil's got that chair is either Inspector Gadget. Remember Dr. Claw? I'll get you next time, Gadget. That's like that chair.
My wife is like, that chair is so distracting with your damn busy tie-dyes. Let me get rid of it, actually.
No, it's great.
No. We weren't really talking about it. I don't
know. I actually like this better because I can...
I'd actually feel better if you were on one of those exercise balls.
I'll just keep doing this.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of, Oteil, did you have jobs pre-music? Like, did you do, you went right into music?
I had one job at a French bakery for like 2 weeks. Jeez. And then it was just they made a big deal out of something really trivial. And I was like, really? Like, really? I was just like, man, I can't do this, you know? So it was good though. It pushed me into what I really wanted to do. I was kind of interested in that, like your story, like, because I saw something, interview that you did, and you had mentioned when you were just a fan and you weren't DJing. So I'm interested, like, how did you discover you had the talent for it, or like, how did that all come about?
I mean, I still don't know if I have the talent, but
which means you do.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I always tried really hard. I know that much. I mean, at first I was definitely just a fan, and I wasn't looking to DJ. I was just collecting records and collecting CDs and talking to people, and on the early rap internet, looking up music I hadn't heard yet and understand the connections between stuff. And then, I went to school at Washington University in here in St. Louis. And, the first building I walked into when I got there was the radio station, because I'd met a guy online who was the hip hop director at the radio station. So when my parents brought me to visit, I was like, we're going straight there to meet this guy, Derek. And we went there, and they just had a wall of records. I mean, it was just like this massive, just the stacks of records they had. And it was like every record I'd ever wanted to hear, every record I'd, heard but couldn't find. And, I'm just like going through, I'm just like, oh, this and this and this. So I started DJing. I had to have a radio show so that I'd have to all those records. Well, as long as you have a radio show, you get the code to the door and you can come in anytime. So that's basically, what it was, is it was like, all right, I guess I'll do a radio show. And I, signed up with a friend, and, I really didn't care about the radio show part of it that much. It was just, just getting stoned on a Monday night with some friends and playing records. Yeah. But it meant the rest of the week I could go in there and look at the records they had, and, started getting free promo records.
That's nice.
Which was just crazy after, I'd always had to pay for all the music I got. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, here's the new records came in, divvying them up amongst the hip hop DJs. Like, oh shit, I get to keep this. So, nice. It just it was all really gradual and natural from there. It was just like the radio show, which got me into doing live DJing, and stuff on campus. And then someone threw an MC battle that I ended up DJing, and I met a couple rappers from there that, still close with to this day. One of which Tef Poe. I mean, I still work with closely till to today, almost 20 years later. And yeah, it just grew into me doing stuff on campus and then doing stuff off campus, and then mixtapes, and then throwing events, and it was all very gradual and natural. I didn't really have time to it wasn't a lot of big leaps to where it was like, whoa, how did this happen? It's like everything came after the step before it.
That's kind of the best way, though. So you're not originally from St. Louis?
No, I grew up in Wisconsin. And then I came to St. Louis when I was 18 for college. And then I was here for 10 years. And then my wife and I left, and we went to San Diego, and then LA, and then Atlanta, and then LA, and then San Diego. And now we're back. We just moved back here in February. Yeah, it was actually a perfect, we just reversed our path back here.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
St. Louis is a great city. I mean,
it is.
The Fox, the vibe the place has is just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
When I was on my way from the Fox Theater to the first Bonnaroo.
Okay.
We stopped at this place that was it was like a diner type. All I remember was they had that black and white tile floor. An old, I would equate it to an old pizza place in the Northeast. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was hot as shit. And they had a very slow ceiling fan, and the sunlight blazing through the windows, and 3 white hippie kids walk in, and the record just goes, and everybody turns and looks at us, and it got dead silent, and we were stoned. So it was even quieter.
Right.
But, we sat down and ate, and it was amazing food, amazing people, just listening to conversations. St. Louis has always had a warmth to it that I thought was really
that's definitely a Midwest thing. And growing up in Wisconsin, and I spent the first 29 years of my life in the Midwest. It was oh wait, people aren't like this everywhere. I'd traveled a little bit, but it was really, when in California, people are nice. I mean, I guess California and Atlanta, both people are pretty southern hospitality in ATL. And I mean, I love California. It's so laid back, but I'm always surprised when people are everyone's so nice here. I'm like, why isn't this how everyone is everywhere? You'd think that would just be the default. No? Okay.
It's just because I came from Boston.
Yeah, totally. That's when I lived in Denver. I was like, why aren't more people nice? And it's because everybody that lives where you grew up moved here.
Right.
I love a college radio station. It's so cool to go in and the dust from the old jackets and the stickers from. It's just every nerdy collector works there. You know what I mean? And do you remember what time slot you had? I know that was always a thing as a DJ.
Yeah, I was. I want to say I was always Mondays. The first couple years was either Mondays or Tuesdays, but then the last 2 years were definitely Monday nights. And it was me and my buddy Abex, who he designed my logo, and his company did all the editing for the RTJ video mega mix that I did. Still one of my best friends. And it was great because we were right after Mike 2600 and my friend Jim Shaft. And Mike 2600 is one of the greatest, most underrated DJs in the world, in my book, and a lot of people's books. So it was cool getting to see him for 2 hours every week before I played. And it was cool because we were at 10 p.m., which meant we could curse words. So whereas he could only play edited stuff, we had the whole gamut open to us.
was like NYPD
So, yeah.
Blue on your.
Yeah. I definitely always started at 10 because I didn't want to play any earlier than that, because then, you know, you'd be limited as to what you could play.
Who were your biggest heroes DJ wise that made you like want to do it?
I mean, definitely DJ Shadow for one. You know, that whole wave of like the, you know, mid to late 90s turntablists were all influenced, you know, Beat Junkies and the X-Men and Scratch Pickles. Shadow was definitely the biggest one, but really it comes down to all the St. Louis guys that like I could watch up close on a weekly basis, and really not just listen to the records and watch a couple of videos, but see how they moved, see how they conducted themselves, you know, understand how they built an aesthetic around what they were doing on a week to week basis. You know, I really miss weekly events that have been more or less decimated by the internet and, you know, just the way culture's moved. But, you know, 15 years ago, it'd be like, all right, Mondays we're at the High Point, Fridays we're at Blueberry Hill. After Blueberry Hill, everyone comes to my gig at Halo Bar. Thursdays Upstairs Lounge. You know, it's like, it was like these cultural places where you met up with, you know, everyone would show up every week, and it'd be, you know, just community, which is just kind of missing now because DJing's become different. Everyone can be a DJ. So there's a trillion more DJs, which has got its pluses and minuses. But, you know, it's just kind of spread everything out and made everything more sporadic. And there's just not those institutions, those cultural institutions that there were, you know, back in those days. But, you know, it was St. Louis DJs like Mike 2600, Needles, Crucial, Fly DX, K9. I hate doing this because I always feel bad. You know, I could name 75 people and I'd still feel like I was leaving people out, you know. Charlie Chan, Stan the Man, you know, all the people that I was DJing with and watching DJ on a weekly basis back then, you know, that's who really formed me into who I am.
My good buddy Cypher Sounds.
I love Cypher Sounds.
Cypher's the man. I love him so much. Yeah. And he's such a sweetheart. Yeah. Just a talented individual. Great stand-up comic. Great host. Great DJ. He was on Hot 97 in New York City for a long time, OTL. And he's a sweetheart. We'll have him on soon. I interviewed him for my old another podcast of mine. Okay. And we just talked about him coming up, and he kind of did almost like a journeyman, almost like an internship essentially under Funkmaster Flex. And I was wondering, was that something that was that your path as well? Were you able to kind of like Syph talks about like carrying crates of records and kind of like, you know, stepping in when there was a break, and was that something that pretty much every DJ kind of has to go through? To some extent, yeah. I never had like one main guy I was under like Syph did. I love his story too. I mean, I listen to every interview with him I can because I'll listen to the story over and over. And, you know, I was a huge fan of the Juan Epstein podcast. I mean, I listen to every episode of that. So I've heard Syph's story a bunch of times and it never gets old. Yeah. I never had like one guy that I was under like that. I definitely looked up to all these guys and, you know, was down to help out whatever I could whenever. But for me, I guess it was more like a village thing. You know, I was also like, when I really got into the scene, I was already like 21, 22. So I guess I was already kind of like striking out on my own type stuff. And I always had like a mind for trying to build something. You know, just I was very active. I was putting my hands in a lot of different things. So I guess I didn't really like take the time to go directly under one person's mentorship, which I think about a lot. And I kind of wish I had, because I didn't have like one main person who like I could go to for guidance. It was like, you know, 20 different people. But I think for
that
a little bit each.
Yeah. But not one person that like I could relate everything. And, you know, I think that one-to-one relationship is really valuable too. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, I actually remember the Science, which was like the Friday night hip hop night that I was at every week. I hit up Solo, who, rest in peace, he actually just passed last month, or no, September, which I think is actually when we were first supposed to be doing this, but it was the week he passed, which is why I canceled. It was, you know, it was a rough week. He was the closest, thank you. He was the closest thing I had to like a mentor like that. And he was more of a promoter. He was a DJ too, but I knew him more as a promoter. But I did when I was in college. I reached out about like helping out with that night, and he's like, "Yeah, you can sit in the back room and take request phone calls." And I was like, "So I won't be able to see anything or talk to any? No, I'm not gonna do that, man." Which which is kind of like, I mean, not arrogant, but I mean, I should have taken the entry level job or whatever. So I'm glad that didn't sour solo on me too much, because we were able to be friends for the next 20 years, and he was a huge influence on my career in so many ways. But it's funny that I think about that was my first interaction with him, was him offering me an opportunity and me being like, no, I don't want to do it that way.
I've done that before, young and dumb.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we all
so,
do.
I didn't really, I became aware of Killer Mike just because of politics, because I don't really know that much about hip hop and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I'm working on it. I'm trying to get you.
He's bringing me up to speed. But were you political at all before you met him? I was interested in like how that might have changed at all since hanging with them.
It's funny because I wasn't super political. I was active in like the community. Like I did a lot of stuff in St. Louis, working with kids. Like I was going to the juvenile detention center and doing hip hop classes there, and doing a yearly thing where we recorded them doing spoken word poetry and rap.
That's
rapping
awesome,
and stuff.
Dude.
And I'd even started my own little like kind of mentorship program thing that I was trying to get going. And politically, I mean, there's a little stuff I did in 2004. There was a campaign called Slam Bush, where they put together like poetry slams with George Bush as the topic going into the election. And I don't remember how, but I ended up being connected, and I ended up throwing the St. Louis edition of it.
Nice.
So that was really the only like super like directly political thing I did, but I was always interested in community issues and, the culture and I always felt a responsibility as a white guy who got so much from hip hop culture to take care of it the right way and try to give back and try to, balance out all this amazing experience and opportunity that I've gotten from the culture. But that politically, no, I'm not like a heavy political guy.
Yeah.
Although right about now we all have to be.
So I'm assuming the Mike Brown thing was like, seismic.
Yeah.
Personally,
Yeah. Well, I was, so that was after I moved, and I actually remember exactly where I was. We were in Seattle on tour, and I was going up to a radio show, to be a guest with, DJ Hyphen and Jay Moore. Jay Moore has also passed. Rest in peace to him. Another amazing dude. He was a center of hip hop culture in Seattle and hugely important there. Great guy. But I think it was while I was on the air there, maybe during like a commercial break, I like got a text from my friend, and he let me know what was going on. And I didn't quite understand what all was going on until like leaving. I called him, and I was just like, then they explained, I was just like, oh, holy shit, this is nuts. And, not altogether surprising if policing in America or policing in St. Louis.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a crazy moment that definitely changed everything for everybody. I mean, the guy I was talking about that I met at that first battle, Tef Poe, he was always, active before that, but that really flipped a switch in him. And he's become like one of the leading activists in the Ferguson movement and just Black issues in general. So shouts out to him. He just started with some people a publication called the Boycott Times.
I like it.
Which addresses these types of issues, and he's doing a lot of amazing things. So a lot of good came out of that moment, despite how obviously evil and devastating it was.
It's crazy to think that was 6 years ago.
I know. It does not feel like it. Yep.
No. Time has been.
March feels like 6 years ago.
I know, really. It's like Chappelle said it great when he with his SNL monologue, where he was like, "Thank God for COVID." He's like, "Remember life before COVID?" He's like, "There was a mass shooting every fucking week."
Yeah.
And it's
gotta,
like, you do
gotta get all
back,
these murderous white people out of here. Yeah.
yeah, you gotta lock these murderous white people up. And it's I think, you hit on something, and I kind of, it struck a thought. It's hard to be, I don't even know if it's possible, when you're a real hardcore music head, when music has formed you from youth up, I don't know how it's possible to be unaware of social matters and social, music is the fabric of, I mean, that's where truth lies, really, to me, is in music. I've learned so much about culture, and I grew up, I don't know, and this is a question I wanted to ask you about, like, I feel hip hop's sort of regional, where like I grew up in New England and I grew up with New York rap, like De La, Nas, and Wu-Tang, and all of the New York centric stuff. Jungle Brothers, De La Soul, Common. Like I love that. That to me, it spoke somehow my region,
Sure.
I felt like I learned quite a bit about, I grew up in the four walls of my hometown, and music brought me out of it, whether it was Bob Dylan or Q-Tip.
Yeah, 100%. Excuse me.
So it's weird. It's like to be able to share that, you said you started to do some mentorship stuff with the youth. Props to you, man. That's fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, like you said, I grew up in Wisconsin. There was, my school was relatively diverse for Wisconsin. There's, it's not like we were in the country where there was like 2 non-white people at the school or something, but it was still a white neighborhood in a mostly white liberal town. So even though I had black friends and stuff, I wasn't aware of the bigger picture until music. And some of it I learned through music, and some of it I learned through resources that I moved towards because of the music I was listening to, and there's this guy Upsky who wrote a book called Bomb the Suburbs, and then another book called No More Prisons. And he addressed a lot of that stuff, and a lot of it really stuck with me, just understanding how whiteness and white people interacting in hip hop works, and what the dynamics are there, and the responsibilities, and that really struck a chord with me, and kind of gave me a direction on how I wanted to treat my participation in the culture. Because it's important, and it's important to acknowledge the realities of what you're doing, and give back to the world that's giving you so much.
Yeah, it's hard for me I often wonder, like, how people can maintain racism and stuff and, like, watch baseball or basketball. I mean, when you're an artist, I kind of expect it to change you because, the music teaches you and being around the people and all that stuff. But, like, other people are just not inside. I'm like, what kind of cognitive dissonance do you have to be able to, like, maintain to keep that, like, because even just as a listener, like, every kind of black music there is, except for maybe disco, is going to be talking about the things that are wrong, whether it's gospel, blues, funk, jazz, hip hop, whatever. It's like, how do you not know after that, but some people can just, like, hold that thing, and it's a mystery to me how they do it. I continue to be stumped.
Yeah.
And it's like, the deeper you dig, that's how you learn history, I mean, that's where that's the cool thing about hip hop. Just like the Grateful Dead and Fish and bands, to me, I like to listen to the music that inspired the people who inspire me, right? So the amazing thing about hip hop, and Oteil, this is something that, like, the Beastie Boys, all time one of my favorite top. I mean, they're phenomenal, and just the going and trying to find the samples they used of albums from, I mean, every genre, weird, like alternative, singer-songwriter shit, to Sgt. Pepper's, to, great old funk. And it was such a cool entryway to the history of music and the history of American culture.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, literally just last night, I forget what made me look it up, but I looked up, you know, you used to have to like dig around or like ask someone. Now you can just check the internet.
Yeah.
But the sample for Biggie's The What featured Man, I realized I didn't know what that sample was. And when you listen to the original record, it's hard to even catch what the part is. Like I had to go back and I'm just like, oh wait, that wasn't there. And then I looked at something, I'm like, oh, so they just took that little part and they slowed it down and then looped it like not where you'd think it would be, you know, and it's incredible. Yeah. I mean, I've discovered so much music beyond hip hop, you know, searching for the samples or, you know, finding a group that one artist sampled one time, but liking the group. So then I go find the rest of their stuff or, you know,
see, that's what
100%.
kind of turned me on. Cause I was coming from, I'm 56. So I remember when people first started sampling stuff, you know, being a musician, a live musician, we were panicked. We were like, oh shit, we've just been made obsolete. We'll never work
Right.
again. They're just going to take it and cut it up. But then much later on, like Dilla's birthday would roll around every year and all my friends my feed would just flood with Dilla. So one day I just was like, I found a bunch of Dilla on YouTube that was all instrumental. And I just put it on and went about my day. And I just kept going, oh, and then I got it. Then I started reading more. And then I realized, wow, these crate junkies like know more about music than I do. I know more about playing. Right. But a lot of them, a lot of white crate junkies probably know more about black music because they just keep, you know, following every thread. So now I'm kind of like sucked in, just like it's been cool. Although I'm coming to it really late.
All good though.
Hey, you know, we all get where we're going when we get there. You know, there's no expiration date on cool shit.
Thank you for being a part of Comes a Time podcast. It's an honor to bring this to you with my pal Oteil. Enjoy. Hi, Oteil.
Hi, Mike.
Wow, you sound fantastic today.
I feel fantastic.
What's making you feel so fantastic?
I don't know. Everything feels so clear and maybe it's our new throat spray that we got when we got our first new sponsor.
Ba-ba-da-da.
Da-da-da.
Clier. Throat 37.
All natural. Let's see what it's got in here. Echinacea, green tea leaf, elderberry, thyme herb, red clover, myrrh, kelp. How much more natural could you get?
I mean, I don't think you can. And it's in this amazing little spray bottle, and it doesn't numb your throat. It just gives you that nice, mellow feeling. And as, you know, professional podcasters now, and a comedian and a singer, an amazing singer, and an okay comedian.
Amazing comedian.
Thank you, Oteil. We have had that where you're on the road or you're feeling raspy and you can't get that nice feeling, that nice smooth feeling. But Clier has created an incredible product and it works. And now Comes a Time listeners can get it at home, 10% off Throat 37 at clier.com/throat37 with promo code TIME. That's CLYOR.com/throat37. Promo code TIME.
Try it out.
Yeah,
I did.
You should get it.
Because when I podcast, I do this. And so it makes it better when I do this.
Enjoy it, and thank you for listening, and go support our sponsors, Clier.
And remember, Comes a Time is part of the Osiris Media family. You can catch all the Osiris podcasts on osirispod.com. Yeah. But the thing that I love that I go back to, like when I think of rap and like the stuff that I like, it's for some reason just Public Enemy. I don't know where my parents are New Yorkers. It's just Chuck D's voice and his whole thing reminds me of people in my family. And I just, you know, of course, that's my era too, you know, so I'm into that. And there was some Roots, Philadelphia Half-Life. There's some.
That's my favorite Roots album. I love that album.
Yeah,
that's
yeah. So I have, there's some of it, you know, but I was always like, I was off like studying bluegrass and down the folk music rabbit holes, you know.
That's good though. I mean, it's, you know, good to have a variety of interests and, you know,
So how'd the whole Run the Jewels thing come together for you? I mean, was that something that like I'm dying to hear this. I haven't heard the story yet on purpose.
I have. It's a great story.
I wanted to hear.
Okay.
You. Yeah. I saved myself for this.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I've told it 1,000 times. It really,
I'm sorry.
It really doesn't get old. No. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, it never gets old. So, it starts in 07. Yeah. 07 or 08. And I was just in St. Louis doing my thing, doing clubs and throwing events and working with the rappers here. And mixtapes was always my main thing. Like I put out 150 or so mixtapes. And most of that was over like a 10-year period because I've slowed down a lot since we've been touring. I haven't had time to put out 20 mixtapes a year anymore.
Can I stop you for 1 second for our listeners? We have a lot of old deadheads that listen to, and I want to make sure everyone understands what a mixtape, like to some people, it might be like, like Mike's summer 96 road trip mix. And it's like got Rush and,
I mean,
so what does mixtape mean in the hip hop world?
It's kind of an updated version of that. And there's a lot of different versions of it. I mean, for me, it was always, my whole role as a DJ to me has always been, I work hard to find new music. I feel strongly about the music that I find that I like. And I think you should hear it. That's just always kind of, my thing is like, I've always dug around for music. I find music that I realize the people around me don't know about, and I want them to hear it too, so they can enjoy, this great shit I just found. So that's why mixtapes is always like my thing. I'm not the most skilled technical DJ that wants to show off all my, all the technical scratching and stuff. It's mostly just like, I find music and I want to put it out there and present it in a way that, sounds good or creates an experience or, so a lot of my mixtapes back then, so a lot of them were conceptual, like they'd be best of blank. But then I had a series called Boogie Bang that would just be the newest stuff I hear, which basically I've got a radio show now on Shade 45, which is basically just the extension of that. It's just every week I listen to all the new stuff that's come out. I pick out my favorites and put it together in, in order that makes sense to me. So in that sense, I'm still doing 52 mixtapes a year. But yeah, so I mean, it's just collecting music I hear and putting it together for everyone else to hear. Which,
so you're not remixing it on the mixtape.
No,
you're just cutting it together.
Sometimes I'll take an acapella from one song and the instrumental from another and put stuff together. To kind of create a new thing. And sometimes I've definitely always had like some of my local rapper friends do something exclusive for the mixtape, just to give it something that no one else has. But especially before streaming and everything, I would dig hard. So I would find music that other people didn't even know was out. So, it wasn't technically exclusive, but people would think like, oh, no one has this except Gabe,
Nice.
So, it was just about sharing music. And, mixtapes has always been an interesting thing because it was always technically illegal, because you don't have, it's not like we're getting record labels to sign off on the copyrights and all that. But it was always a funny relationship because record labels would send the music to mixtape DJs knowing full well why. I mean, they were literally saying, please put this on your mixtape because it's a great promotional vehicle for us. But then at a point, the industry cracked down on mixtapes, and there was a huge raid where DJ Drama got raided, and they, took all his mixtapes, and he got, legal issues. So it's always been an interesting little thing with the industry and mixtapes. But so yeah, that's the main thing I was doing at the time. That's what my identity was based off. I was in the clubs or doing events 5 nights a week, but mixtapes was where my heart was at. Because I could just play what I wanted without worrying about, oh, there's 50 people here. I got to play, I don't want them to leave on a mixtape. It's like, I don't know if you left or not. So I'm playing what I want. And if you leave, if you press stop, I'll never, ever know.
Right.
So I was, I guess it was 06 actually. So that's when Killer Mike dropped I Pledge Allegiance to the Grind, Volume 1, which is a 2-disc album. And the Smoking Section, which is the blog that I later became affiliated with and that my Shade 45 show is named after. It's called The Smoking Section. The Smoking Section posted a song called That's Life. And I heard that song and I'd known about Mike. You know, obviously he came out with Outkast and he was on The Whole World, and, you know, I'd heard his album and I always thought he was good. But it didn't connect fully with me to where I was like obsessed with him or anything like that. You know, I wasn't like that hyped about it. But then I heard That's Life and I just like froze, and I was just like, why didn't anyone tell me Killer Mike's the perfect rapper? Like, this dude is like the greatest thing I've ever heard. Like, what is going on? Why is this trickling to me instead of, you know, it's just like, and those moments are the best, is when you hear something that just stops you. Cause you're just like, I mean, that's what I feel like that's what we're always chasing as music heads is, totally. You know, I remember the first moment I heard Enter the 36 Chambers. Yes. And stopping walking and being like, what am I hearing? This is so different from anything I've heard before. I need to understand it, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And I kind of had one of those,
same shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
I kind of had that moment with that song where I was just like, okay, what's going on with this guy? I know he had that album. Now I got to figure out. And I went back and listened to the whole project, and I love the whole project. And he, you know, he just kind of encapsulated everything I like about rap. You know, he's like hard but funny, but intelligent, and spoke on stuff, but didn't speak on stuff so seriously that it was like, you know, it wasn't academic. You know, it was like he's talking shit, but also saying some real shit. And it's entertaining, and the beats are hard, and, you know, you believe him because he's got conviction, and, you know, he's just got that presence that he's always had. And yeah, so I heard that song and it just flipped a switch, and I just became just the biggest Killer Mike fan. And I was playing songs off that, and so that record came out. I'm gonna try and keep this to the medium length version of the story, not the super.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It might take 35 minutes. This was where Mike he'd had beef with Big Boy, so he was on the outs of the Quemini. He's kind of at the lowest point of his career and kind of starting to claw his way back towards success, trying to claw his way back into having a career. You know, I mean, he'd had a gold record, working with the biggest root group in the world, and then he had the falling out with Big Boy, and it was, you know, he was cold again, and he had to heat back up. But I was playing the songs off that record like they were the top 10 Billboard songs. I was, you know, every night in clubs where, like, it wasn't necessarily what people were there to hear, but I was just shoehorning them in there like, nope, you're going to hear this, you're going to hear this, you're going to hear this. You have to understand. And, you know, a few people might be like, what are you doing? But always the most gratiating thing to me, Jay, is when someone comes up like, yo, what is that? What are you playing right now? You know? Mm. And it's like, I know they're going to go home and look that up or go buy that record, or, you know, again, that's always my thing, is like sharing the music that I know about that you might not know about. And I had, my dude, Rob Boo, used to come every week and be like, did you play it yet? Did you play it yet? Because the song What the Business Is by Killer Mike, he didn't know where else to find it. And he was just like, every Friday he came because he wanted to hear that song. And he actually just hit me on Facebook a few weeks ago, like, yo, I want that song again. Where can I find it? And I was like, I'll send you the image, bro. Yeah, so I was promoting Killer Mike basically like I was being paid to at the time. And, you know, I mean, I was just a huge fan. And so he had done an interview. And I wish I remember if it was a website or a magazine or what, but he'd done an interview. And at the end, he said, I don't have fans, I have supporters. They can hit me on MySpace /Grind Time Rap Gang, or call me at 404, etc. Right?
No shit.
So I'm assuming, because this is Killer Mike, who's won a Grammy, who's got a gold album. I'm assuming this is going to be a recording asking, you know, hey, this is Killer Mike. Leave your, you know, email address. We'll send you exclusive, you know, 8x10 glossy signed photo, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
But me being the fan that I am, I wanted to know what his little voicemail thing sounded like and sign up for it, right? So it's like 2 PM. I'm in my apartment in St. Louis, you know, just like stoned, you know, just hanging out in the apartment. I'm just like, all right, let me just call this number. He goes, hello? I go, can I speak to Mike? He says, yeah, this is Mike. And I'm just like, what the fuck?
Oh shit.
And I was just like, okay, think quick, man.
You put your actual phone number on there?
Yeah.
Like,
which what? I asked him about it later, and he just gave that big Killer Mike smile and shrugged like, you know.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Brought you
And he's,
together.
and he's still, even at this point where he's a million times more famous than he was then, he still is so like open with fans. And sometimes he gives out his number. I'm like, dude, you're famous. You can't do this. What are you doing? But that's how he is, man. He's just open, which I think comes through in everything else he does too. So, I just had to think quick, and I just started telling him everything I just told you guys. I was just like, yo, I play your records everywhere. I'm the biggest fan. You're amazing. And just thinking quick on my feet, I was like, I want more people to know how incredible you are. We should do a Best of Killer Mike mixtape and have you host it for me. Which is a long shot. This unknown nobody in St. Louis
move, though.
Hitting up this, Grammy winner and asking him like, hey, do something with me, sight unseen. And he goes, okay. I was just like, all right, like, I'm going to text you my manager's number, and, and it took some persistence, which persistence has long been my career. Which is why I always, like, anytime anyone asks for like advice, I'm like, just do the thing you care about the most. Because if you care about it, you'll do everything you need to do to get where you need to go. If you don't care about it, you're going to skip steps. You're going to not do something, like that thing where I didn't want to answer the phones for Solo, that could have been my one chance to get my foot in the door, and I missed it. Fortunately it wasn't. But, if after 3 emails I'd said, Mike's never going to host this tape, I'm going to stop bugging them, it never would have happened and I wouldn't be here. Right. But I sent all 11 emails or whatever it was that it took. So we put out the tape in 2009, and then, or 08. I don't know. It's been a long 20 years. Smoked a lot of weed. But then in 2009, there's a hip hop conference called A3C in Atlanta. And I went there. That was my first time going there. And I hit up Mike. I was like, hey, I'm going to be in Atlanta. I'd love to meet up with you, just give you a copy of the CD, get a photo, meet you, and he was like, yeah, I'm signing records at Criminal Records at this time. Come through, we'll chop it up. I was like, awesome. All I wanted to do was meet Killer Mike. I just wanted to meet my favorite rapper. Right. And so I go there, and we took a pic, gave him a copy of the CD, and I was like, yo, I'm here all weekend. If there's anything else going on that I can help you with, anything, let me know. And he said, what are you doing tomorrow night? And I said, nothing. And he said, I'm opening up for Rakim. Do you want to DJ for me?
Wow. Yep.
So
well, he put his goddamn phone number out there.
Yeah, right. And
it worked out good for him.
Good.
Yeah. I'm like, the show's tomorrow. How do you not have a DJ yet? Okay, I don't care. Okay.
Yeah,
Doesn't
exactly.
matter.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yes, I will do this. And so the next night we did it, and it was, definitely the most amazing thing I'd ever done in my life at that point. I mean, I'd never been on a stage in front of that many people. I got to meet Rakim, share a stage with my favorite rapper. And so from there, we just stayed in touch. I was still in St. Louis at the time, but then I moved to San Diego, and then I moved to LA.
Well, wait,
but then the next year,
I got to stop you. That first night being on stage with him, I mean,
yeah, man.
Let's talk about that. Like, how'd that go? Like, were you happy with it? Did you blow him away? Were there moments when he like turned to you like, fuck yeah? I
definitely didn't. I don't think I blew anyone away, because I mean, we didn't rehearse, I literally showed up and he gave me a CD, like, these are the songs in the order. And first of all, I was incredibly nervous, both because of the opportunity with him, but also the number of people that were there and opening up for Rakim. And, this was levels above anything I'd ever done before. Yeah. So I was extremely nervous. But having not worked him before, I was just trying to stay out of the way and I was way more concerned with not fucking up than impressing him.
I understand.
And I wasn't even treating it like an audition. I 100% thought this was a one-time thing that's incredible that I get to do.
Yeah.
And that I'll always remember. And, so I just wanted to not fuck it up and not, I was thinking about that video of Biggie throwing a water bottle at Mr. C. because the record was skipping. I was just like, I don't want anything like that to happen.
Don't kick the power record out. Yeah.
I wish I remembered it better. I wish there was a little more video of the night. There's a few grainy videos on YouTube, but but yeah, I mean, I survived it. And
it worked.
And it's incredible. And I just remember like looking out and just there's that many people and just watching Mike work the stage and his charisma. And I mean, I was just a fan on stage, just trying not to press play at the wrong time, really.
Wow.
So we did that. And then the next year at South by Southwest, we'd stayed in contact, but then it's at South by, I literally bumped into him and his manager in the street. Cause South by, I mean, I know, I started going in 08 or 09, but back then, especially rap was so there'd always been a little bit of rap there, but it really picked up in the last 10 years. But at that point, a lot of the rappers were just, walking from gig to gig. It was small time. So you'd bump into just like artists in the street. And I just bumped into Mike as he was, walking to his next thing or whatever. And, again, I was just like, hey man, I'm here all weekend. If you need anything, let me know. And I'm still, even though we've done the show, the Rakim show, I'm still on some intern shit in my head. And I'm like, I'm thinking, do you want me to roll your blunt for you? Do you want me to, go get you a sandwich?
Right.
You're going to answer the phone calls this time, right?
Yeah.
The next few calls.
Yeah. And he says, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, nothing. And he said, I've got 4 gigs. Let's go.
4. All right.
And so
Rakim's opening for me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't have any gigs that day. So I just rolled with him all day and we did 4 shows. And at the end of the 4th one, and I wish there was video of this moment. I've yet to find any video, but at the end of the 4th one, he goes, and I want to introduce you to my new DJ, my new tour DJ, Trackstar. And I was just like,
oh,
really? Did that just, I was like, I don't even know what that means, really. Do you
You're like, we haven't, wait. That would have been amazing if you're like, actually, we haven't gone over the details yet.
Yeah. I was like, do you tour? I don't even know, what is it?
Wow.
So,
What
and
a
at
moment,
that time,
huh?
yeah, it was crazy. And again, I wish, now every show we do, I've got 6 GoPros on stage. I wish that was the case
Yeah.
back then. So I'd have that moment from 6 different angles. But yeah, so at that time I was still in LA. And then a couple months later, he had a tour opportunity and they called me. And at the time I was teaching, gym at a elementary and middle school, after school gym. And, they were like, this is the gig, this is the pay. And I was going to have to DJ for all 4 artists on the tour. So it's going to be 4 sound checks and then on stage basically from, 8 to 2 every night. And, I was going to be making like $100 more a week than I was making at my part-time gym teacher job with no per diem or anything. And I was going to be leaving my wife we weren't in the worst neighborhood in LA, but we weren't in the best neighborhood in LA.
Yeah.
But I was going to be leaving her by herself,
And not the best neighborhood in LA.
To basically lose money because I was going to have to pay for all my food and shit.
Of course.
And I was just like, I can't. I was just like, this feels crazy. I'm turning down a tour with my favorite rapper. And I actually liked all the other acts on the tour too. So, it would have been cool to DJ for him, but I just couldn't make it make sense. And I would have had to quit my job, which would have been, that would have left the school in a tough spot. Just trying to find a teacher for the last month of school, with a week's notice. And it was the most agonizing, 5 days. Cause I was just like, I can't say no to this. But I think I'm going to say no to this. And I said no. But at the end of that call, his manager was like, I understand, we've got some other stuff coming up, but it's like near here. So it wouldn't even make sense to have you come out. Cause at the time what I was making, he's like, the flight was going to cost more than we were paying you for 3 shows or whatever. He's like, if you lived in Atlanta, it'd be a lot easier. And I totally get it. Fair enough. We got off the phone. I turned to my wife, who's amazing, and she's been unbelievably supportive through this whole journey. And I turned to my wife. I was like, hey, baby, we should move to Atlanta. Ha, ha, ha. And then I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know. I DJ for Killer Mike, I might get to like meet like Outkast and T.I. and, I was like, maybe we should move to Atlanta. And she's got a jewelry business that's online, so she can do it from anywhere. And so basically on a whim, we decided to move to Atlanta. And like 2 months later, we moved to Atlanta.
Wow.
And it was right before Mike and Elle dropped Rap Music, which was the Mike solo album before Run the Jewels that was entirely produced by Elle. So we started touring off of that almost immediately after we moved there. And just in the first 2 years, Mike and I did tours opening up for, just like a bunch of heroes, like Immortal Technique. And then we did a tour with Big Boy. And then we did a tour with Elle. And I've been listening to Elle since high school. I mean, I've obviously been listening to Big Boy since high school. Then that winter we did a tour with GZA and Wu-Tang. I mean, Wu-Tang was religion for me in high school.
Absolutely.
So it's just like crazy. The first like 18 months in Atlanta was just like rapid fire, just the most unbelievable shit that I could fathom. And then Mike and Elle decided to form a group because the first tour was so much fun, and we all got along so well. And I mean, we still all look back on that tour. It was just a family experience type thing. And every tour kind of is. Every tour you get into this, bubble of family and that tour, just because of the freshness of it, we're playing the small venues and we just all appreciated, and we just all loved it so much. And fortunately, Mike and I loved it so much that they were like, dude, we need to do this more. So I just had crazy timing on every level all the way through this thing, up to the point where when they decided to start the group, I was like, okay, but this is LP, who, has worked with Mr. Len, DJ Abilities, Mr. Dibbs. I mean, these guys are all legends that I looked up to before I was even a DJ. I was like, of course LP has a DJ who's 1,000 times better than me. And that guy's going to be the DJ for Run the Jewels, not Mike's DJ, who he's been working with for a year, Yeah. But at the time, Elle had been playing with a band, no DJ. So Jesus. I just got grandfathered in, and the fact that I was the DJ for the tour, so I was part of that, bubble.
Yeah.
And then the second tour was amazing because it was, me and Mike would do a set, and then Elle and his band would do a set. And then we would all do a Run the Jewels set. So we do a Killer Mike solo set and then an Elle solo set. Like we open for ourselves basically. and then we would do the whole Run the Jewels album with the band and me up there. And it was just crazy. And that was the first time we kind of got to like people chanting, after Elle would get off stage and we'd all just, he'd be wiping his sweat off, getting ready to come back, and the crowd would be chanting, and it was just like, what's going on? This is amazing,
Fuck.
Yeah, and all three sets kind of had their own fan bases. There was Run the Jewels fans that weren't that familiar with Mike or Elle solo stuff, and then there was Mike fans that were there because they love Outkast, that were then like, oh, let me check out Elle and Run the Jewels, and then there was Def Jux fans, So yeah, it was that tour especially was like, I mean. Every year has been a new set of crazy memories, and I've gotten to meet almost all my heroes, and, share a stage with people that I never thought I'd meet, I mean, it's as a fan from Wisconsin, it's pretty overwhelming. Like when I still have moments all the time where I'm just like, go tell 16-year-old Gabe that you'd be doing this someday, I mean, I told you DJ Shadow was my biggest hero, and I'm like friends with him now. Like we've worked together.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. It's just
life.
It's nuts. Yeah,
it's a special life, isn't it? When you're able to kind of tell 16-year-old you. That's a very good way of putting it. I mean,
that's a running theme on our podcast because I still have those moments all the time. In fact, you can tell 30-year-old me.
Yeah,
you can even tell 40-year-old me. And that's saying something. I've been doing it a long time, but like even just like 16 years ago, if somebody had told me like this would be happening now, I'd be like,
dude, because of comedy, I've had the chance to meet some of my hip hop heroes, I mean, like,
nice. Yeah.
You mean
just
all of your here music, hip hop,
music, comedy, hip hop,
comedy,
really, yeah.
like everything.
Sitting at the Comedy Cellar in the West Village, and like, you know, in walks Chappelle with Busta Rhymes, and I'm just like sitting next to Busta Rhymes bullshit, and I'm like, you're fucking incredible, dude. Like I love your shit. And he's like, thanks, mom. You know, and it's just like, that's just, but when you're there, you know, grandfathered into that family, like you said, we all have that bubble in that circle. And it's like when the cream rises to the top and you're able to kind of float around in that cream and hang out, and you know, it's a beautiful place. And that's your humility, and your gratitude is what, you know, makes you shine. And that's probably, I think that, and tell me if you agree, and I know Oteil, I think we agree on this too, about 80% of being invited to do something with elder statesmen or heroes is how you are off stage, like how you hang, how, like, you know, leaving a light footprint and just being cool.
I've had guys on the bus 100%. That I had to be on the bus with, and I'm like, it's me or him. Like, I'm not, you know, I don't care how good they are, man. You got to like be able to get along with people. It's just like, oh my God.
For sure. I mean, there's a lot of DJs who scratch better than I do, you know? But I mean, I say that all the time, is like, one of the main reasons I've got the gig is, you know, my tryout was traveling the country with these dudes and them knowing I don't cause trouble. I make their life easier, not harder. I'm fun to be around, not, you know, mostly not annoying. I think I don't ask for too much, you know? And that, you know, and it's just like, your personality plays a big part, you know? And I mean, Mike and Elle, I mean, they didn't form a rap group because they held tryouts and were like, okay, who's the best rapper I could form a rap group with? They got along as people, which made making the show and making the art fun, you know? And obviously if I was terrible, no matter how nice a guy I am, I wouldn't have the job. But there's not tryouts for like the very best fit on a technical level or something. It's being in the right place at the right time. It's making that phone call.
Being available.
And then not fucking, I mean, I tell people are like, yo, how did you get to do all this? You know, how can I was just like, you know, try really hard at the thing you like the most. And then when lightning strikes, don't fuck it up. I've actually been meaning to make a t-shirt that says, don't fuck it up. Because that's like my best talent, I think, is not fucking it up.
That's what I tell my students, and they go like, what's your secret? And my mentor told me, always said 99% of success is just showing up. And it sounds simplistic, but there's a lot to that because, you know, there's always some numbnut bass player that's going to get drunk and miss the plane and whatever. So like just showing up requires a lot, and you develop that consistency, being easy to work with, good at what you do, easy to live with, off stage, the whole nine. And so but that first part, you know, like being a fan, just loving it. And then the rest of it, when you do that, it's like eventually, because Colonel Bruce used to always tell me, it's like, if you stop when your ship does come in, you're not there for it because you were like, I can't do this, or you didn't, you know, you tapped out. It's like, no, you just got to work out sometime. You know?
And that was a huge part of it for me. You know, in St. Louis, I was super active, and there could have been people that didn't like the records I chose. There could have been people that thought I weren't that talented or whatever, but you saw me everywhere. So when there was opportunities, there's a good chance I was around to have a shot at it.
Yeah, man.
And, you know, like, lightning's not going to strike you if you're in your house all the time. You know, you got to go play in the yard by a wet tree.
Yeah.
With a pole in your hand.
The New York City stand-up scene. I mean, I would literally have every booker's ear right around 4:30, 5 o'clock. If anybody bails and you need someone, I'm here. And I would park my car in an opportune spot in Manhattan where I could like hit the West Side Highway or hit the FDR or hit like a major avenue across to get to 78th and Broadway, or get down to 23rd and 7th or over or whatever. And I said, you know, I don't want to bother you. I just want you to know I'm here and I'm, you know, hungry for spots. So, and that definitely led to getting in the regular rotation at clubs, because it was, I'm going to show up I'm going to be early. If I'm on time, I'm late is the way I always, and that's just me, even with this podcast.
Yeah.
Like I'm always going to be the first one. I hate I don't like making people wait, but I'll get there early. I'll do my time, say my thank yous and whatever. And I knew it was always leading to the next thing because there was always somebody that was going to fuck up. Like you said, Oteil, there's always going to be someone that makes you look professional when you're just being you.
Yep. That's really well put. I mean, low key, that's what happened that South by Southwest weekend with Mike. They had a DJ with them. I didn't know it at the time, but they had a DJ with them. And, I don't know the details, but, they weren't happy with how he was moving. So I certainly wasn't trying to step on anyone's toes. I didn't even offer to DJ. I just said, I thought I was going to roll him a blunt or something. Yeah. But, that's what happened is, the guy wasn't there. And, when you stay that active too, you learn something from every one of those things. Lightning doesn't always strike, but, I was prepared to live these last 10 years because of the 10 before it, where I tried my hand at everything in St. Louis. I DJ'd every possible type of gig or party. I threw events. I worked with promoters. I, had an email newsletter. I promoted, I worked for promotion. I did everything. So I was able to pull a little bit of experience, a little bit of know-how, a little bit of how to deal with people and different people and how different roles in the game worked. And I was just able to learn that from staying active and not being, not in the house thinking of what I could be doing.
Yeah, totally, dude.
I wish I still had that energy. the out 6
Don't
nights a week
all?
energy.
Yeah, me too. You know what else too? And I'll say the fact that, like earlier, you said you didn't hold auditions and whatever. It was a friendship that turned into a project. That translates in the music because you guys are doing something so profoundly unique. You don't sound like anyone. And it sound like the thing that I'll kind of tag off of that with, and I'd love for you to talk to our listeners about, you guys go out of your way above and beyond to make your music available to the fans.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind just explaining, a little bit of the philosophy on that. Everything's on the website.
Yeah. Well, Elle has always been ahead of the curve in like everything his whole career, sound wise, business wise. He would do things business wise that might not have worked out great for him at the time because he was too early, but then became the standard for the rest of, the industry.
Yep.
And sound wise too, for sure. I mean, he's been making music that sounds like a lot of music that comes out now since, for 20 years. And, especially when we were first starting out, we didn't have a major label. The first album was in conjunction with Fool's Gold, the second with Mass Appeal, which, are like boutique type labels.
Right.
And they recognized that we were going to make our money on the road. And the more people have the music, the more people will come out, the more shows we can do. And it would just snowball. And, we knew that we put on a great live show. So we knew that when we did a live show with 300 people, all of those people would go tell 2 friends. And the next time we came back to that town, it'd be 600 or, whatever. It was just going to keep growing. And they were just always forward thinking. We've got a great management team, all of which have been with Mike and Elle since before. It's not like they formed this group and like signed to a major and got some hot the 3 guys have been with Mike and Elle respectively for, something like 12, 15 and 25 years or something like that. Elle's had the same manager since he started in the mid 90s.
Wow.
So, it's like, it's a great management team. It's a great family vibe off stage too, and yeah, they're just forward thinking and always thinking of new ways to make the business side work, but never compromising, on the music side. And yeah, and like you said, it's all based around the energy and the friendship between those guys. I told them like 5 years ago or something, I said, the only reason Run the Jewels will ever stop getting bigger is if you guys stop being friends. As long as you guys are friends and love each other, I don't see any reason this won't keep growing and growing and growing. I mean, and I mean, it's crazy where we're at right now.
Amazing. Yeah, you guys are
Coming
so
from,
fantastic.
Coming from like tours Mike and I did in like 2012, where it was like, some of the shows had 15 people at them at, some small college or something. And now it's like, man, we miss those small 300 to 500 person venues, those intimate 500 person spots.
It's so funny because I never hear I heard you say that in another interview, and I was like, I love this guy. Like, how many people do you hear say I finally made it to these big venues? And he's like, man, I miss those. So
I mean, it's a different thing. Like, and they all have pluses, and you can, you pull the good out of it, and not that you have to pull good out of it, but they all have different appeals to them. Like, there's definitely something amazing about playing an NBA stadium opening for Lord.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah,
like
dude.
But you were talking about that community thing, that home community thing that and I was like, oh, it made me feel good to hear that,
when everyone there paid their money just for you guys, it's a different thing than opening for Lord. And it's like, 20% of them love us, 20% of them like us, 60% of them have never heard of us, and are just waiting for Lord.
50% of that 60% is pissing or getting a beer right now.
Yeah. And, but it's also an amazing opportunity to convert.
Yeah.
And, we picked up thousands and thousands of fans on that tour. It was an amazing experience. But yeah, I mean, the contrast is a crowd where everyone knows all the words and is like, you drop a song and from the first note they explode because they know what song it is and they were waiting for one, Yeah.
Your fans are like the diehard Run the Jewel fans are rabid, salivating,
we're really lucky.
Wanting more. Yep. The deadheads of like Cream rises to the top in fandom too, man. And I think that not to be cheesy, but that real recognizes real statement. People want to be a part of the hang. People want to be a part of the inside joke and the ongoing, it's a story that has, beginning, middle, and an end, and we're in the middle of it now. So
yeah. And Mike and Elle are both so magnanimous with the fans, and we all, especially in the early days, we'd all hang out after the show and meet people, and we're all, every day we get a picture on Twitter or Instagram or something with someone like, this is after the show in 2012. It's just like, it's just been such a fun run, just being natural and appreciating our fans. And, it's nice that we all had this success at such an advanced age,
amen,
to where we all appreciated it. We all, there was no, this is going to last forever. There's no ignorance to like the way things go, to where, I mean, Mike and Elle had both been huge ups and downs. I was about 30 when this all started, and, I was the young guy in the group, that's not normally the thing for rap groups. So, we've all been able to really appreciate it and not make some of the mistakes that, you might make if you're 22 doing this without guidance.
Yeah, totally. That's true. And that's like the learning from your elders thing, right? I mean,
yeah.
Or even if they weren't elders and they, you see enough people like die and stuff, and you're like, okay, let's not do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, I've watched, I've worked with a lot of older guys that were icons since the late 60s,
Mm-hmm.
And, so you see them, but then when I started burying friends of mine, like even by my 30s, I was like, wow, this is supposed to happen later. And it's just like, no, this is late for you. It happened to them. They started burying cats when they were in their early 20s,
Right.
And so it's just that perspective, I really think helped me, like, just be like, okay, man, keep it between here and here. Like, because where it ends up.
Yep.
It's 100%.
Yeah, I'm extremely happy I got my partying, like my big time bullshit partying, like the detrimental shit out before I did comedy. Because once I hit the road and got those lonely hotel nights and stuff, I mean, it's not, I didn't want to wake up feeling hungover and feel like garbage and all that. But Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's I guess this is the
Okay,
might be the sign to wrap.
Oh,
I mean,
little
it's
baby. Hi, little baby.
Cool,
She,
well,
she came in and she said, beach.
time to go. Well, dude,
Mom
How
said
old?
she would take her to the beach after a nap.
The beach. That sounds
she's
amazing.
2 or 3, right?
She's going to
Yeah,
be
how-
3 December 19th.
Oh, that's awesome. My daughter just turned 2.
Oh, awesome.
In September. Yeah.
Nice.
Excellent. Yeah, we're at that same spot. Them 2s, man.
Yeah.
Ain't no joke.
Yes. She's wild. Very mobile now.
Well,
Can't stop her.
She's very lucky to have you for a dad, man. I'm really glad to meet you.
Totally.
Really.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Well, we keep talking about how she's like the one person who's won in 2020 because with no coronavirus, she's only got 2 friends. And
Both home.
if there was no coronavirus, she'd only have one of them around most of the year. She doesn't know the difference. She doesn't have anyone to miss.
Yeah, that's right.
She's
That's
not like,
right.
how come we don't get to do this? She's like, oh, I hang out in my pen and go to the park. We're still doing that. Everything's normal. Just sometimes daddy
Man,
wears a mask.
That's it.
We adopted our daughter from India, and we got her home just in time.
Oh,
Yeah, sweetie.
Absolutely. Like it.
She's
the
like,
nick of
Daddy.
time. That's it.
Beach,
time to
bro.
wrap. Well, Gabe, man, it's such a cool story to like hear someone that like, a fan turn it. I relate to a lot of what you're saying because I mean, I looked at Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn and Insomniac with Dave Attell and Chappelle's Show and all that, and was like, if I could only just meet them and hang out with them,
Yeah.
and then to get to work with them or make them laugh. It's awesome to hear your story, bro.
Yeah,
and
that's a line I've been using for a long time. Is I say, it would have been really cool if I'd met Killer Mike once. That would have been incredible. I would have remembered it forever.
Yep.
Just
It's
met him
insane.
once.
I tell
That's
Attell
right,
all the
man.
time. Like I go open for Dave Attell on the road, and I'm like, I can't fucking believe that I even know him, let alone talk to him. So it is truly, but it's a good like. Just congratulations, man. And I hope that people who are listening like are inspired because it's super inspiring to us. So,
And thank you, because what you guys are doing is really important and beautiful.
Thanks,
and it's
man.
so nice to know there's such beautiful guys doing it. Like I know that and feel it anyway, but to like really talk to you and then really know, like to hear you say the only way this will ever stop working is if you guys don't love each other. Who the fuck says that in a bit? My kids are awesome. But
No,
that's
true.
so beautiful, man. That's
I mean,
Thank you.
Those guys are both so amazing. And, I thought they were amazing before I met them. And then spending all this time with them, I just like, they're both incredible. And I'm really just like, I always kind of saw my place as like wanting to support artists that I thought were, because I don't think I'm talented, especially, but I saw people around me. I'm like, I want to be a part of these guys having more success than they would have without me. I want to be a part of supporting them getting to where they're supposed to go. So it's really gratifying to do that with, it's not who I thought I was going to be doing with at the beginning, but anything I can do to help Mike and Elle have a bigger platform. I mean, I texted Mike the other week because when we did that mixtape, I was like, the point was more people need to hear what you have to say.
yeah.
And now everyone gets to hear what he has
He's
to
fucking
say.
amazing.
So it
dude.
turns out you were right.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful,
And,
that's awesome.
I mean, literally this year's been full of dark, awful, depressing points. And at one of the worst, if not the worst, up comes Killer Mike on my TV. And he is leaning forward and standing up and talking and with such force. And it was like, in such a leaderless time, it's like, thanks, dude. Like really, like he's
him and
unbelievable.
Nina Turner. Like I could name like 5 people that just
Mike's
where I was just like, and so I know all the people around that. Just that's holy work, man. That's the real stuff. That's the only way we're gonna win because darkness is trying to win this thing, and they're not playing around.
Yeah.
So the only way we win is that love, man. That's the only way.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
thank
man.
you
I
for
wish I
hanging with
didn't
us.
have to go, but
Absolutely.
apparently I gotta go.
Come back again, man. Let's hang again soon.
Yeah, for sure. I'm down.
All right, brother. Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
All
And
right.
thank you to all of our listeners for yet another Comes a Time pod. Go check out everything Run the Jewels. And thanks to Gabe. And tune in next week. Peace.
On the dream,
Peace.